What is up, all of you Ugnots and Jawas out there, and welcome back to a new episode of Mando Talk. I'm your host, Caleb Keller, and on this episode, we will be breaking down episode 7 of The Acolyte titled Choice. And I'm glad you've made the choice to check out this podcast episode, and I'm glad that we've got Zach Horvath back in the building. What's up, Zach?
Hey, what's up? What's up? Yeah, so happy to be back. Back from vacay, hanging out at the beach. Hey, don't get me wrong. I still checked out the pod from last week, which was awesome. Shout out Rayside. And dude, I'm just so happy to be back. I missed talking about it.
Yeah, man. And it seemed like a lot of people checked out the pod last week. So big shout out to Hannah from the Ray side. Everybody that supported that episode, that was an absolute delight. We gained a lot of subscribers on YouTube with that one. So hey, if you want to join in on the journey, be sure to subscribe on YouTube. We are getting closer and closer to 500 subscribers, which is a big deal, big number to hit. So help us out. I think we're currently 28. It always goes as I say that number, somebody's going to unsubscribe just for fun. But hey, we're close. We're under 30. So be one of those 30. We would greatly appreciate it. We do need to do some, I guess, housekeeping here before we get into the breakdown real quickly. Obviously, next week is the finale for The Acolyte. But unfortunately, I'm going to be on vacation. Zach's going to be busy with work. So what we need you to do, all of you Mando Talkians, stay tuned on Twitter and on YouTube and on those podcast platforms. Make sure you're followed to Mando Talk on Twitter. It's at Mando Talk. Make sure you've got the bell on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you listen. Make sure you've got those turned on. That way you know when our episode 8 coverage drops. We're just a little hesitant to say what date yet, just because we got a lot of moving parts, moving variables. But you best believe, I mean, we've been covering every single episode. We're going to do something to cover episode 8. So stay tuned. Make sure you stay dialed with that. Other than that, though, I feel like that's the big thing that we needed to address before we got into the episode 7 breakdown. I will say one more thing, though. I do want to talk about this. If you're on YouTube, you'll notice I finally found my cardboard Mandalorian that has been in all of my videos from like day one. It seems like we've been moving. I kind of lost him. Well, I found him. So I want to do something cool with the listeners. Here's what I need you to do. Comment on YouTube, like leave in the comment, put in all caps, pin it, PINIT, pin it, and then leave a comment with that pin it tagline. And what I would love to do is print out that comment and like tag it, thumbtack it on that Mando cardboard. That way it's like viewers and listeners and subscribers are like part of the little studio setup that we've got going on. What I'm also going to do, if you're on podcast platforms, if you leave us a 5-star review and actually write out a little descriptor of why you gave us a 5-star review, I will print that out and I will pin it. I just want to do something to like engage with the audience. I know that's totally random. And Zach, you had no clue I was going to do all of that, but I figured it'd be cool, a little dorky, but a little fun.
I'm in, dude.
To get the audience engaged. So yeah, on YouTube, all caps, pin it, and then drop your thoughts on this podcast, on what you think we're doing here at Mando Talk, and on podcast platforms. Leave the 5-star review with the descriptor. I'll print it, pin it on the Mandalorian. Okay, that's all the housekeeping. Print it, pin it, baby. Now let's print it and pin it to this episode 7, man. Choice. Okay. We always do like our initial thoughts before we get into the breakdown. I got to work through this one, man. I really got to work through this one. I wasn't loving it. A lot of moments I was hooked. Don't get me wrong. Some of the dialogue moments really took me out. Some of them I'll definitely make sure to point them out. It's just at this point, I feel like I've reached with the Acolyte that I'm just thoroughly invested in Chimera, and that's about it. And Soul, maybe too. Obviously, Soul. I don't say maybe Soul. Definitely Soul. Anytime Soul was in this episode, I'm locked in. But I shared a couple weeks back, and I think, Zach, you were here whenever I shared this. I'm not interested, and this is bad. This is a bad sign. I'm not invested or interested in the May Osha story, and that's a pivotal point of this show. So everything that had to do with them, it just, I don't know, it just felt kind of to me this week. What about you, Zach? How are you feeling?
I I'm the same, dude. I hate to like just immediately agree, but I'm so conflicted because at some
Yeah,
points I'm locked in. Some
absolutely.
points I'm sleeping. I'm
Absolutely.
locked in, I'm sleeping. And for such a pivotal episode, this
Yeah.
hype episode, the truth comes out.
Hmm.
I shouldn't be sleeping, I feel like.
Yeah.
I just I'm trying to I think you summed it up well. There's things that really work for me and some stuff I just don't care about. And unfortunately I agree that the May Osha dynamic here,
It's
I just
crumbling a little
don't
bit for
I
us, I
just
think.
don't really care. I
Yeah.
think it's crumbling because the other stuff's so much cooler.
Well, it's
Like
the other stuff that that's what me and you were always envisioning and hoping
yes, yes,
from the
yes.
Acolyte.
Not this like weird, like this culty thing of this. Like I don't know why that is the pivotal point of something called the Acolyte.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
maybe they answer that. I've said that before, where I say maybe they answer it and they do,
Yeah.
but I
I
just
mean,
don't
let's
understand why we're taking so much time on this.
sure.
I think that's why I'm so conflicted here
Well,
because
and
it's not that I didn't like the episode. I actually liked the
sure.
story.
Yeah.
It just the way it's been framed and this all the other things it had to juggle didn't land, I think.
Mhm. No, I agree. I agree. Um, yeah, it's interesting because it's like you said, Soul, Chimere, we're locked into, but it's all this other stuff that we're just not connecting with. And hey, if you're somebody that's connecting with it, let us know how you're feeling about May and Osha. Maybe give us a different perspective that we're not really thinking about. But I mean, yeah, I feel like that kind of summarizes our overall thoughts. You did kind of mention that this show, like we have had these feelings of, oh, that doesn't really make sense. You haven't really answered that. This episode answered some things where it was kind of like, well, that didn't really work a few episodes ago, but now suddenly it does work because we've got some added context. I'll give this episode some props there for sure. But other than that, like I'm just kind of in the middle here. Like if I'm feeling positive, I would say maybe like 6 out of 10. If I'm
Yeah,
focused on the
I landed at a
negatives,
6 out of 10 here for this.
okay.
6 out
And
of
we'll see.
10.
We might need to come back to that number after we do this breakdown, see if that goes up, see if it goes down.
Sure, sure.
It
I
could
think
happen. It could
just
happen.
my middling feelings is I don't think it's a 5. I don't think it's that I would
Yeah,
consider that like more negative than how
sure.
I feel, but I wouldn't say it's a 7. It's this weird feeling, man. I
Yeah.
just I don't know.
All right. Well, let's do this thing. Okay. So episode 7, choice.
Spoilers, we're in,
Yeah,
by
we
the way.
we in this. We in this. Let's get spoiler heavy. Episode opens on Bryndock 16 years earlier. At that moment, all of us watching should know we're getting our flashback answers this week, which is much appreciated. I'm glad that we're finally getting these answers because it's been a low hanging fruit
We're almost
the
like
entire
too
time.
far gone. I gotta be like
Yeah,
you dangle the chimera carrot in front of me, and then we go back to this thing. I think
yeah,
that's what. Well, so now we're talking spoilers. When I was
do it.
inferring to like what 2 minutes ago was like, I think if they wouldn't have waited so long, it would have worked better for me because now we've moved on to
Yeah,
way more interesting stuff, and we've backtracked to this now. I
yeah, I
just
agree.
the
Well, and
pacing and the placing is weird.
I was of the opinion that you could have answered all of the flashback moments in half an episode, not an entire one. But they really wanted to just use this entire runtime for this entire flashback moment. And I mean, that's their creative choice. That's not necessarily who am I to say I'm a creative guy to where I could pull it off, but that's not necessarily what I was envisioning with the process because, like you said, at this point in the show, we've introduced so much more interesting concepts
Dude,
to
yeah.
explore. And now
We're
at this point,
into what I thought the show was gonna be.
we've got one episode, and I'm assuming at max we'll get 40 minutes of
Y
content
yeah.
to
That's why I
drive us
think
home.
that's why I'm saying the placing of it is what's bringing me down. Because I think
Yeah.
if we got but then I go back to, like, okay, when do you do this? And I think you can only do this for it to work for me better is before the fight with Chimere.
Mm. Yeah. Probably
Which
save the
means
time
it's
and money.
like episode to episode, because at that point it would be what, like 4 episodes in from meeting Soul in this mysterious fire, and we've seen the
Yeah.
flashback without knowing the whole thing. And then, oh, by the way, here's the true story of it. When Soul says, "When we get back to the thing, I'll tell you this."
Yeah,
The
and
first time.
that's another thing. Last week's episode, Soul's like, I've waited 16 years to tell you the truth,
Mhm,
basically, or to tell you what I would, or share what I would say. I
mhm.
thought that was going to be the storytelling motive to give Soul an avenue to just give us a story of the flashback, the true flashback, and not 43
Oh,
minutes,
see,
whatever it
I
was.
completely expected it to be the whole episode
Okay.
personally. Just because they've been hyping it up for some reason for
Sure.
7 episodes, I figured we would get the full context. But as
Yeah.
we walk through this, I'll tell you where it actually
Yeah.
I thought it was cool they did
Okay.
it this way.
Okay, let's do it then. All right, 16 years earlier, we see a young soul, the rest of the Jedi crew that were there collecting samples of the planet and clearly searching for something. It's revealed they have been there for 7 weeks and haven't found anyone or anything. And Dara shares that 100 years ago, the planet of Brindok was cataloged as lifeless because of a hyperspace disaster, but the planet is thriving. Soul shares they are looking for a vergence, a concentration of force energy centered around a location that could create life like what they see on the planet. Soul says it is a power that should be studied and protected, and nothing could be more important to the Jedi. And as such, this is a noble mission. I was enjoying the angle that I could see the possibilities coming from this episode in this moment, because I was thinking whenever they were saying that they're noticing a power that could create life here, I thought they were going to address the birth of May and Osha and add more context to that. And we didn't even touch it. So now looking back on this scene, it's just like, okay, cool. We're setting the stage. But other than that,
Well,
what
see,
you got for me?
I think them being born is the virgins.
Okay.
And that's why there's now life on this planet. Is that not true?
Okay. I mean, that could be true. I was just interpreting as because of these witches and their powers, this planet has been able to stay alive. Not necessarily
Yeah,
just
yeah. I
because of
think you're right. I think you're right. I think I okay. So I need the people viewing, listening to this to guide me here, and maybe I'll see it on Twitter or X. Who calls it X? I don't know. Like I took it as, I'm jumping ahead, but he runs off and says, "Oh, that was the virgins," like that, like, "Oh, we can get off here. They are the virgins." I thought that's what happened.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. I forgot about that moment. I think that's
Yep,
I think that's right. I think
I
that's right.
got you.
But
I got you.
I still don't feel like they address like cool,
No,
yeah.
I think it swept it under the rug.
Yeah, cool,
This
that's
like
the virgins,
super
but
intense, crazy, life bringing
yeah,
force event.
and
It
nothing.
was like, oh, that happened.
Whatever. And we're not gonna do anything about that? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
wow.
agree. But so at this point, to talk about the scene,
Yeah.
I thought this was sick. I
Mm,
was like, oh, okay, we're seeing the Jedi just be here, which I think
sure.
is cool. We're seeing them do Star Warsy stuff, which is cool. And we get it. We get a sort of explanation. It was a little hokey for me. Clunky, this virgins, and okay, I've never heard this before ever.
I love those words.
And this is the this is the reason, like, I don't know, like, lore implications here are heavy, obviously.
Mhm, mhm.
But I think it's interesting. I was actually locked in here. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool. We're getting the whole story here is
Yeah, I
what
mean,
I
I'm
thought.
curious what a hyperspace disaster looks like for a
Oh,
planet.
yes. So on Twitter,
Uh-oh.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting on you to send the link,
Sure.
basically, and
Yeah, because 'cause I'm late to the
I'm on
party.
Twitter. Oh, no, 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 you're good. And someone said, "I'm so happy they talked about the hyperspace disaster." So
Huh?
maybe that's something that exists in the legends
It
or
no,
history,
I it's gotta be a thing for the High Republic readers, got to be, then,
because,
I'm
like
assuming.
I said, someone was like, they put the little eyeball thing, the little eyeball
Mm,
emoji,
mm.
and so I don't know. While you talk, I'm gonna actually Google that. Go ahead.
Interesting. No, I'd imagine that it's gotta be, High Republic information. Um, but yeah, other than that,
Here we go.
our boy Torben was
Wikipedia.
tripping in this scene. I'll say that. Go
Shout
ahead.
out Wikipedia here.
Okay.
Amazing,
Hit
by
me.
the way.
Yeah.
Okay, the Great Hyperspace Disaster, or the evacuation of Hetzel Prime, was an event that occurred during the High Republic era in 232 BBY. Several moons were destroyed in the disaster, and the Hetzel system was especially threatened with large amount of debris. Okay, doesn't tell me why it happened though.
I'm sure there's context deep in that
Oh yeah, there's like paragraphs and
page.
paragraphs and paragraphs. So long story short,
It's out there.
it is from the High Republic, so I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's the same hyperspace disaster.
I would say
And
so.
so
And it seems
cool
like
for them
that's
to do
just
that.
yeah, that's another High Republic. For those of you that read the High Republic stuff, you're probably like loving that
Probably
drop.
screaming at us like, "Hey, it's from the High Republic."
100%. But hey, I warned the Mando Talk crew that I haven't read that stuff. This is the
Yeah.
first show where I can't make
Oh,
pull
dude,
those
it's so much.
connections.
Like
It's a
that
lot.
was so
It's a
cool
lot.
seeing Hannah talk about
Oh,
like
she's killing it with that stuff.
so intellectually in on all this stuff. Like it was
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's keep going. Indara and Soul share a conversation about her teaching strategies with Torben as he is struggling with understanding the mission. Soul says Torben was disturbed, but Indara says Soul was disturbed, and not to confuse Torben's feelings with his own. Soul disagrees with Indara's strategies. The Jedi decide to split up. Soul follows the river line, which is what gets him caught up to the opener of episode 3 previously this season. As soon as Soul discovers there are others on the planet, he calls for Indara. I enjoyed the dynamic between Soul and Indara in these moments. I liked Indara putting Soul in his place, and it was a good reminder that Soul was 16 years younger here, and he's definitely not the perfect Jedi, as many of us have been led to believe here throughout this season. But I feel like, based off of last week's ending, we had kind of deduced that at this point. This week's episode was explaining Soul's ickiness behind
Well,
the
I think
scenes. But
he's
this
just
was a good
emotional.
setup.
I think
Yeah,
he, I think he
100%.
just he gets emotional. Where Indara, until the very end, there she slips a little. But I
Yeah.
think shout out Carrie Ann Moss. I think it's her name. She's
Yes.
back, right? So she embodies here what I feel like a Jedi Master is in my mind, which is freaking riddles and doesn't answer anything clearly, but is
Yeah.
like trying to help and like be a leader without answering. She even says that, right? Hey, I'm trying to assist without answering. And I just
Mhm.
think that's such a brilliant way for a master Padawan dynamic. Because in my mind, that's how it works. I don't know. You guys can agree, but or disagree with me there. But like everything I've seen in Star Wars, a master is always throwing out these random, Yoda type riddles of,
Yeah.
ah, it's not his feelings into your feelings kind of a thing.
Yeah,
Like she's dropping on him here.
they're like parables, basically.
Yeah, yeah. It's just I think all of her dialogue in this episode is pretty awesome in my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna get to that point at some point in this. Indara was definitely, in my opinion, the best character this week.
Yes,
For
yes.
sure.
Now I think Soul is interesting
Oh, yeah,
in
yeah.
terms of just
Like
the
getting the
history, but
answers. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think she definitely was. She lived up to the hype in this episode for me.
Absolutely. Okay, let's keep going. Soul has now followed the girls back to the witch's fortress, and we see him not. Why does that say beagle? I don't know. My notes say beagle. I don't know what I was trying to say there. You're getting
I'm reading it
inside
too. I was like,
process. Okay, so we're back to the fortress. We don't have a beagle, but we've got a front door. He tries to get through the front door, but he realizes that it's blocked. Basically, he can't get in, so he decides to climb up the side of it. He proceeds to get inside and witnesses the lesson that Mother Anastasia gave to Osha and May regarding the thread. The noise that Soul makes as he departs is what the witches heard in episode 3 to end that lesson abruptly. Soul then works his way outside and witnesses some witches preparing for the ascension. Now, I do recall in episode 3, whenever that lesson ended so quick and weirdly. I was like, what the heck was that? What were they? What noise did they hear? Are they sensing something? I liked getting this angle. I very much so enjoyed that reveal that Soul made a slight noise and it made these witches start tripping, and rightfully so. Lesson got cut, and then we're moving on to the next scene. I actually really enjoyed this moment. What about you?
I'm a sucker for these different perspective shots. Like
Mhm.
I'm still locked in here because I'm like, oh, sick. We're getting the same moments from his angle. Again, that always works for me. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say always, but like 99% of the time, I'm like, okay, this is sick.
Mhm.
Especially it being Soul and how everything kind of plays out here. I was like, oh, this is really cool watching him watch them. Now I want to, I've put a pin in this part in my brain
Pin it.
because I think this, pin it. I think this encapsulates why this show isn't just like incredible.
Mm.
The dumb shot of him like crawling up this mountain was like
Mhm.
35 minutes long. Why did I have to even see any of that? And with this like music and all this stuff, I just, I
Sure.
wanted to bring that up because that just like puts in a little space
Mhm.
what this show does to me is I'm locked in and then it throws me one of those and I go, what?
Yeah.
Why are we still watching him climb this mountain?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have. I will say I see your point on that because we've established the scale of this place back in episode 3, and all we needed to see was Soul just start the initial climb, and I think we would understand what he's doing.
And you may come back with, listener, you may be like, that's nitpicky. It is
It
nitpicky.
it is very nitpicky.
I'm not saying like that specific scene was ridiculous. I'm just saying that sums up my feelings on why this isn't, top tier. That plus
Sure.
the dialogue is what's faltering.
Yeah, that's
But
fair.
that was so weird. I was just like, what?
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
But yeah, no,
I that
the
thought
different
didn't cross
perspective.
my mind, but that's fair.
Well, I see, and you know me, I nitpick on this stuff because I find filmmaking and movies and TV that stuff's so interesting to me, and
Yeah.
so I tend to take myself out of it, like looking at things like that, like oh
Mm.
look at this, look at the cinematic here, look at the angle, look at all this like stuff. My wife's like, would you just please be quiet and watch the TV show? And I'm like, no, look at the framing here, it's sick. Like, oh, it's so cool. So
That's fair.
yeah,
Fair
cool
enough.
seeing the different perspective though. To end on a good
Yes.
note.
Yes,
I love that.
absolutely. All right, well, let's keep going. Soul makes it back to the Jedi camp and he shares he believes this is some form of witchy force cult. And Torben questions if they are Night Sisters. And Dara is quick to say they don't have all the information, so they shouldn't assume anything. Although Night Sisters don't raise younglings, let alone train them. And Dara says they must return to the ship and ask the council for guidance. Soul says his fears for the girl's safety as they prepare for the ceremony. He insists to not defer to the council and go ahead and act. And in these moments, I was thinking, okay, we're about to get the answers as to why Soul is just a wreck by present time, like last week's episode, for example, where he's making these quick emotional decisions. We're kind of getting that concept. And I do think we successfully get that concept in this episode. I guess it just wasn't shocking like I thought it was going to be. It was just like very much so, okay, cool. Um, but yeah, still, I'm like you. I'm still digging it so far. It hasn't fell apart or it hasn't hit the brakes for me yet. I'm locked in so far. What about you? What do you think about this scene?
I felt like the pacing here was great. Like we didn't waste time. Like, well, how do I phrase this? I think the amount of time we took, like setting the scene of like them doing their thing, and they've been here 7 weeks. I thought that was all perfectly paced out in terms of like, hey, here's we're gonna get you to this point, and here we're at new information, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, he's been there. Now they're not dilly dallying around; they're jumping into action.
Mhm.
I thought that was all really really well done, and it made sense in terms of like motivations and this would be a big deal, right? Like, hey, we've been here 7 weeks, haven't seen anything, but there's life here now. And then you randomly see two girls. What the heck, right? So I
Mhm.
thought the what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. The the hype. I don't know what other word to use here. I'm freezing, but urgency's the word.
There
Urgency.
you go. There you go.
Urgency. Erase all that. Was great here.
Yeah, no, I agree with that take for sure. Yeah, I'm still locked in. It's going good. Next up, Jedi crew slice into the platform elevator to break into the fortress, and Dara wants to go alone as it's too risky for the entire group to go in, as the witches will view it as a threat. Soul shares there are over 50 of them, and they should go in as a team, and Dara allows it, but they must be vigilant. vil- yes, vigilant, and this leads up.
Vigilant.
Oh, we are butchering the words this week.
Yeah. I got
It's
you though.
great.
I got you.
Pin it. Okay. And this leads us to the scene we saw in episode 3 of them interrupting the ascension. Okay. At this point, I'm thinking, what are you doing, Indara? You need to stand your ground. You don't need to be listening to Soul. The master like view of Indara is starting to fall apart here. I didn't mind the scene though. That's not what I'm trying to say. Just the character of Indara. We're starting to get a look that Soul. I guess he knows what to say to make her change her
Well, he
mind.
just
What do you
gets
think?
pushy. I think she's got like this weak spot for him or something. Because like, I agree with her. Like, why? No, we don't all need to go in. This is going to be a show of force, and we don't want that. I completely agree with her here. So
Yeah,
I think Soul making, in my mind, the quote dumb decision to bring everyone in
yeah,
shows that he is, he's not a master. He's not this super wisdom filled person. He's getting emotional. He's like, no, we need to go in there. There's a ton of them. What happens if they attack, right?
yeah.
Where she's like, yo, let's just be chill. I'll go in one, check it all out, and then bounce. But she gives in.
She does. She does. And this next moment, I loved. I was hooked on this part. As the conversation continues, we witness Torben's point of view with what he went through as he was mind possessed. Suddenly, everyone is gone except a mother, Anastasia. Anastasia begins to get her witch on. She asks him if he wishes to escape the planet and that she can help him. She reads all of his feelings like a book. After manipulating him, Torben confesses that he wants to return to Coruscant. She instructs Torben to kneel, and this is when the black eyes and kneeling occur in episode 3. I think the way that this moment was shot, the energy that was kind of surrounding it, the music, just the feels of this, I felt like were very well done. But it does remind me of something that I wanted to playfully point out. I don't know what's going on with Torben and why he is so adamant to go back to Coruscant. It was kind of like really like childlike behavior, in my opinion. Like, I don't get it. Like for example, Jackie would never have that opinion or have that feeling. Like, she would be committed to doing whatever her master was instructing her to do, whatever Soul was instructing her to do. And Jackie's at the same stage that Torben is in this flashback. But Torben is just complaining about wanting to go to Coruscant. Like, he must have a 10 out of 10 girl to go back to or something,
Well,
because this
so
is
I mean, 7
ridiculous.
weeks is a long time.
It is.
I
I get that, but like, come on, you're a Jedi, dude. Like, you got to lock in.
I agree with you there. But for me, it rubbed me wrong, but in the right way, in the sense of like, dude, just suck it up, man.
Sure.
But I think the vibe I got was they were all saying that, like, dude, this sucks. Yes, we all think it sucks, but this is our job.
Yeah.
And I actually liked it in the sense of like, the actual him being whiny baby about it, because
Sure.
he's kind of the catalyst of everything here, right? And so it actually worked for me that maybe that's the reason he runs off later. That's flaky, but here is some of the coolest force, whatever witch magic stuff I have seen in a Star Wars maybe ever. I think this was so well done.
Okay.
Like, if you come at me with that's not peak force, mind working stuff, that was so well done, dude.
It
The
was
audio
well done.
design, the visuals, the way the actors are acting, everything about this was sick. As soon as it zoomed in on him and the lights faded out, I was
Yeah,
like,
that was cool.
oh, this is going to be dope. And it
Mhm,
was dope.
mhm.
We talked about liking the mother, in the other episode that
Yeah,
she was actually good.
yeah.
She was flexing here for me.
In this scene, yes.
Like,
She was killing it.
like so cool the way it was shot, how she's sometimes looking at the camera, sometimes we're seeing like everything about this was so cool to me.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about this, it had levels to it in the sense of what I said before. We're getting a different perspective here. We've already seen him go down to his knees and, get mind controlled.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
I think this pays off later with Kanaka, right? And
Oh,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
seeing this
Good point.
whole this moment, I just think was so sick, dude.
Yeah,
I,
it was a cool moment.
I don't mean to drop hyperbole that it's all timer, but I think it is because we don't see this a lot. Like all we see is people going like this to each other.
Sure. I'll let you have that opinion. I heavily disagree, but I
Oh,
respect
you
it.
think you disagree?
Like, I'm not saying I think this is a great scene, but
I think it's one of the coolest like
I'm
mind
not
control force things.
I'm not there. I'm not there.
Okay, that's
I
fair.
I can think I could probably about 5 or 6 times that were cooler in the Clone Wars with the Night Sisters alone
Oh,
than
all right.
this.
So I don't know anything about that stuff.
Sure. Sure. And
So
that's why I understand your point of view is because
yeah, I'm like, dude,
you
this is
haven't really
sick.
watched that.
Like this is way cooler than just to
Sure.
me.
Sure. It
So
was cool. It was very cool. And honestly, it kind of gave me a little bit. Here we go, House of the Dragon. It reminded me of like those visions and dreams that Damon is currently having as we're watching that show.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I dug the moment for sure. I don't want me not saying that it's
yeah,
me
yeah, yeah.
saying
No,
that
no,
it's
no, no.
not all time great is not me trying to take away from the scene. I still think it was a very well executed
Yeah,
scene, very well.
yeah.
And I wanted to point out too the lighting change with Torben when it went from light to dark. It reminded me of when that happened with May a couple weeks back, and I was wondering if there was somehow a connection there.
Hmm.
Um, I haven't really pieced that one together. I don't
I
know
don't
if
know,
if you have a
but
reaction to that.
I wrote it down in my notes. Like, this is sick, is what
Yeah.
I wrote down. Like, so to
It,
give y'all an insight of how much
fair.
it really worked for me.
Yeah, it did work. It did work. Okay, where we at? Back on the Jedi ship.
Let me go back to that one more
No.
thing.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry. What do we think she's doing there? Is it force? Is it magic? Is it the way I read it was like she's got this magic witch stuff, but I read it as like a force reading of the mind thing. Like when Kylo's got Rey's reading her mind or
Sure.
whatever. Like
Well,
that's
I think it's just another power.
okay.
It's clearly the force at hand, but again, we've kind of talked about how like witches are just using the force in different ways. Like obviously, this group is calling it the thread.
Sure.
It's just, I guess, it's just an ability that she has. It's probably this coven's version of like a force mind um manipulation kind of. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's definitely comparable to, I would imagine, like a mind trick, but like a darker version of it for
Right.
sure.
Well, because she's not only like possessing him, she knows all his desires and
Yeah.
his true thoughts. So I
It's
thought that was
very
cool.
witchy, and they nailed that aspect of
Yeah.
it
And she's
for
like,
sure.
say
Yeah.
it to me.
That was
Tell
it was
me.
shot. It was done very
So
well.
that's
Very
cool.
well. Okay. Here we go. Back on the Jedi ship, it appears Torben has informed Indara what has happened. Indara tells Sol that him asking to test the girls has bought them time to ask the council for guidance. Sol says he feels a connection to Osha, and Dara says testing the twins is something they can't take seriously, as Osha is too old to join the order. Sol says he feels she is meant to be his Padawan, and Dara shares that the Coven will never allow her to leave. Sol still pushes back as he believes Osha wants to leave with them, and Dara says, do not confuse what Osha wants to what you want. The twins arrive for their training then at this moment. I loved that Indara said that the twins were too old to be trained, because obviously that addresses a problem that a lot of people have been pointing out with the fact that Anakin was too old to begin his training in the prequels. That was always something that I wasn't worried about, but I know that there was a little handful of people in the fandom that were like, "Oh, they're too old to have training. It's so dumb." That wasn't something I ever really subscribed to. I had a feeling they were going to address it in some form or another, and I feel like they addressed it perfectly here. It is Soul being emotionally attached to someone, and that is it. Just like Qui-Gon. I mean, Qui-Gon was emotionally attached to Anakin as well, but Qui-Gon had the midi-chlorian count at that point to back it up as well, too. So similarities, but definitely some differences in those two stories. What'd you think of this quick little moment?
Never did I go, oh, they're too old to join. I don't know none of that stuff. Give me a freaking break, man. They're kids, and I thought you just could be a kid. I don't know.
Oh, you're a fake
So
fan.
yeah, no, like that sums it up
I'm
how
just
I
playing.
feel. You guys know I come with the casual viewing
Yeah,
experience here.
absolutely.
I'm no expert on this stuff. I just drink it in, and I love it. So did this work for me? 100%. Love seeing Soul be emotional. Love that she throws the line back at him again. Yo, you're
Check
getting in the
yourself.
way of yourself. Like chill.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I thought it was really cool. Now, I, correct me if I'm wrong here. At least I want to get your thoughts. What did you think of him immediately? Like, I'm connected to OSHA. Did you think that worked, or do you think that was weird?
It wasn't something that I had thought about really because I mean, I'm thinking back to episode 3 whenever he holds that lightsaber out to OSHA. That was if I remember correctly, that was a pretty powerful moment between the two. And it just, I mean, I think that's natural. Sometimes you immediately connect with another human for whatever reason. And I didn't really at any point like question if that was too quick, but I could see somebody maybe thinking that.
Yeah, so it worked for me. But I just in my mind I was like, I wonder what Keller feels on this because I could see someone being like, oh well, oh he just disconnected to her. But
Yeah.
in my mind, like these Jedi with the Force and all this stuff, I think it actually makes sense
It's
that.
almost like, and I hate to, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not a House of the Dragon. I don't know what franchise this might be, but it's almost like whenever I'm just gonna roll with the dragon reference because that's what I'm thinking. It's like when the rider like first looks at their dragon, they're like, "Oh, that's the one." It's almost like
Yeah,
those kind of vibes that I get, like
yeah.
maybe a Jedi
It's like love at
master.
first sight, not being love, but
Sure, it's
it's
like
that
it's like
uns.
the Force is telling Soul that she's gonna be your Padawan, basically.
Yeah, it's like in Into the Spider Verse when you see the spider sense for the first time and it goes, "Look out!"
Sure,
and he doesn't know what it is.
there you go.
That's what it's like.
There you
What a
go.
sick
There
moment,
you
by the
go.
way. God, I love that movie.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, here we go. Next up, we begin to get an inside look of May during the Jedi test, as we did not get that in episode 3. As Torben takes a sample of her blood, May begins failing the test purposely, and Dara asks what everyone was doing in the courtyard when they arrived last night, and May reveals to them that it was Ascension. And Dara tells May that the marking from the ritual is very beautiful, and she imagines Ascension must be very important to include a marking like that. May begins to share beliefs that Mother Anastasia has in their coven, which seems to alarm Soul especially. Soul deduces that they have been instructed to fail, and he is going to try a different approach with OSHA. We witness OSHA pass the test, but it appears to worry Indara. That's a point of view that we definitely did not get in episode 3. In these moments, I'm still really enjoying what I'm seeing. I like the different point of view. I like seeing Indara's facial expressions some more in these moments. I loved. This is like, in a way, this was Indara gently manipulating May to give me more information of what y'all got going on. But like, it appears like she's very intentional and purposeful and means it when she says, oh, this must be really important to y'all. Like, it's almost like she's kind of saying that she respects it. Like she's letting May know this is a safe space. And she gets the intel that they need as far as, yeah, they got some sketchiness going on. And obviously it triggers Soul even further into the emotional state. But again, great moment. What'd you think?
Loved it. More perspective. We get to see May this time. Um, I love it's pure manipulation. Like I don't think there's any sort of like I think it's straight up, police detective 101 here of
Yeah.
like, oh wow, it's
She's
so
the good cop.
beautiful. Tell
Yeah.
me more about that. I thought that was masterclass here by Indara, and she's just a little kid. So, you can just get them talking. She doesn't know what she's saying might be It's huge, especially
Sure.
when she says something like what, sacrificing each other or sacrificing themselves or something.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
Saul's like, yeah, this ain't good. So I thought that was very well written and well done. Just
Yeah.
that whole scene I thought was cool.
Agreed. Okay. All right. We're picking up pace here. Here we go. Indara orders Torben to run the girls' blood samples. Also for Sol, Kelnaka, and Torben to continue their field work as they await further instruction from Coruscant. Sol says Osha passed out of shock that they are waiting for. Hold on. I'm not following what I wrote there. These notes are iffy tonight. Here we go. Sol says Osha passed, and he's shocked that they are waiting for further instruction. I think that's what I meant to say there. Indara says she will meet him at camp when she receives the council's answer. So obviously, Sol pushing back. He's not loving what he's hearing about how we've got to keep waiting for the council. Like, she passed. She's good to go. She's my Padawan. Let's do this. Setting the stage for things to go down. Setting the stage for things to get bad. Not a pivotal moment, but a moment nonetheless in this episode. What do you think?
Yeah, working. I'm still in. Like legitimately,
Yeah,
I'm still in here.
yeah.
Like I'm like, okay. So clearly they're gonna say no, like in my
Mhm,
mind,
mhm.
because she and Dara's acting weird about
Yep,
all of this. She hates the idea of taking these kids in because of the coven, they're old, all this stuff. So it was very clear that it was gonna be a no. And I again liked seeing Soul be pushy here and be emotional. And it's like,
yeah.
no, like she passed it. What are we doing here? Just think it all works.
Absolutely. Well, let's continue then because Indara gets the call back. She shares that the council has said no and they will not sanction bringing the twins to Coruscant or separating them from their coven. Torben speaks up, saying there is something dangerous about the women. Sol questions Indara as she can sense the twins and are not safe either. Indara shares that the council believes they have interfered too much already, but they still won't allow them to come home. Sol wants to talk to the council as Osha has passed, but Indara barks back that she passed because he coached her and that he is altering the girl's destiny because he has formed an emotional attachment. Another great moment from Indara. And it's so true. Again, something that I didn't even think about back in episode 3 of the fact that Sol coached Osha to pass that test a little bit. If I remember correctly, when we go back to episode 3, like we said, that moment was like as Jedi as it could get, as far as Soul like getting down on a knee and like talking to Osha and calming her down and letting her know again, gentle manipulation, I guess. Now that I'm seeing it this way, like you can pass the test, it's going to be okay. Very
From a certain
interesting.
point of view, right?
Yes, yes.
Um,
Again,
it's
locked in with this moment. I'm like,
it's
okay, here we go.
same, man. I really like this, and the reason this works so good is because we got the May perspective here
Mm,
with May, and we
mhm.
now know that he knows they're lying on this, and he does all this pre-planned. Like that. That is the curveball in this for me. It's like he wasn't just being nice and gentle, which I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure he truly, in a way, cares because he
Sure,
feels this
yeah.
connection now. But going on the new cliff notes we have, he knew what he needed to do to get her to pass.
Mhm.
And I never took it as him coaching her until seeing it now. And she
Yeah,
calls him out on it, which makes a lot of sense. It's just, it all works. It
yeah.
all is working for me.
This is a great moment. Okay, then the scene continues. This is where it starts going places.
Yep.
Torben receives the M count results. The M count is very high, extremely high, very force sensitive. Okay, I remember typing it out that way because I hated the delivery of that dialogue. It was
Two thumbs
so
down on
choppy.
that.
It was so choppy and so just it just did not flow at all. And when he says very force sensitive, like bro, come on. Again, they did Torben so dirty in this show,
I
man.
don't know if they did Torben dirty, if he just isn't doing good. Like I'm
The
I'm to the
actor,
point now where like,
well, I remember that actor being in Game of Thrones, and I never had any problems with him portraying his
yeah,
character.
maybe. But I don't know. I'm to the point now where I'm like second guessing him because it's like
Sure.
they have to say very force sensitive because to the general user viewer, you say M count, no idea what that means.
You think so at this point?
if I go to my wife and say, you know what an M count is? No shot. She knows what it
Why
is.
are they not just saying midichlorians? Like, is it that bad of a word for them to just use? I don't
Yeah, I think
know.
it is.
I don't know why. I don't know why. At
Well,
this point, if you're gonna say M count, just say
well, that's
midichlorians.
worse. That's more confusing than M count because then I go, what did you just say to me?
But at least midichlorians is in like an episodic film that most people that are
Sure.
keeping up with Star Wars have seen.
Sure. That's fair. That's
But M
fair.
count is also in Mandalorian at this point too, and everybody's
Yes.
watching that.
Well,
So
where I'm going with that is like,
anyway, yeah.
you got to give that perspective in the dialogue. It doesn't have to be that clunky, is what I was going to say. Like,
Gosh.
you can clearly say, oh, wow, the M count's very high. And their force
Say it like
sensitivity
a
is
normal person.
skyrocketed.
Say it like a normal person.
Yeah, like the M count and the force sensitivity of these two are off the charts,
Yeah, say something
exponential.
yeah, exactly. I
You
felt
know,
like you because after that delivery, I literally put my head
thank you.
in my
Yes, thank you
hands,
for
and I was
being there
like,
with me on that because I was
"What?
watching. I was like,
What
yikes.
is
I mean, I moved on quick, but I was like, oof.
I don't know. That took me out for a minute, I can't lie."
Well, okay, so that feeling you felt is the feeling when he's climbing up the mountain like it's
Okay.
Olympus. Like that's the feeling I get where I'm just like, what the heck?
That's
And then
fair.
I'm back in.
Okay. Well, let's keep going then. Then the symbiotes are revealed to be the exact same. This would be
Dude,
impossible
I gotta
without some
pause you
form of
here.
manipulation. Okay.
Completely lost here at this point. When he's talking about symbiotes and I'm thinking Venom and
Yeah.
Carnage here. I'm not even thinking.
Yeah, I definitely thought of Venom.
Yeah, that was great, actually. Exactly. Like I was like, wait, okay, now you're losing me. Slow down, Torben. we're to the actual important part, and we're burning through it.
Yeah,
I had to stop you because I was like, dude, what is happening? I wanted you to like walk me off the ledge here.
Uh, I don't know if that word is used in Phantom Menace or not. I would imagine it's been used at some point in canon, like it being a novel or comic.
And how does he know it's impossible without some form of manipulation?
I mean, I guess we just have to deduce, here on Earth when we have twins, they're not exact DNA copies, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. That's fair. He'd be like, oh, he even says, twins are going to be different. So,
Yeah.
okay, that's fair.
Okay.
I'll give him that.
Okay. So back on this word, symbiotes. They're revealed to be the exact same. This would be impossible without some form of manipulation. This alerts the Jedi to know that they were artificially created. Indara wonders if the witches tapped into a power deep enough to split one consciousness into two bodies. Soul says only a virgins could create that type of power. Torben realizes that the girls are their proof and ticket home, so he just takes off. And Dara orders Soul to stop him, and that she and Kelnaka will take the ship. Okay, so for one, you're coming to this realization that there's some dark side stuff going on. Brushing that to the side, I guess. Whatever. Okay. Number two, when he said artificially, my mind, I guess it's just because the way we are now as humans and we have this technology, my mind immediately went to AI. I don't know why. So that kind of took me out. And then when our boy Torben is just like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta get on this speeder. I'm just like, what is going on, dude? Like, he has totally lost me. This scene that could have been so cool. This moment could have been one of the coolest moments of the episode. You talking about M count? You talking about midichlorians? You're speaking my love language, Star Wars. Could have been so cool. But this goofy delivery and this awful dialogue, let's be real, took me completely out of this moment. Zach, I have a feeling you feel the exact same.
You on it. This is where you lost me.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is where the ship has derailed.
This is where it derails. I will say it comes back on the rails for me a little later.
Yes.
However, it's in the cliff or it's in the water because I'm like, what just happened? Like, okay, the M count's high. Virgins, symbiotes, alert. They're the same, but they're really the same. I gotta go. Gone. That all happened in like legitimately 30 seconds.
And it was at that pace, like chunk.
I was just like, well,
chunk.
why'd you leave? And I guess okay, so I
He's
guess
their
the
ticket,
point
whatever.
is
But
it's supposed to be, fast paced because that's what he makes a rash decision and goes.
sure,
Dumb, dumb. This is like Chimere getting lifted off by bugs. Dumb here.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
like because you want to get home, you are gonna run into this base with 50 witches
by yourself.
who you just got taken
Who you
over by.
just got possessed by. Yeah,
Like that, even though he's a little, whiny baby, I don't think he's dumb. I don't think he's going to do this by any
yeah,
means. Nothing necessary would he do this, especially just to get home because he's homesick.
sure,
Crazy.
yeah,
50 million ways off the top of my head
yeah.
how you can write this scene. That ain't in there.
I think this is what they were trying to portray, because if you think back to whenever the twins showed up for their training and Torben is outside and he's like closing his eyes and trying to meditate, and he's basically trying to rid the funk of Mother Anastasia being in his head. I think what they're trying to say is Torben is still not in his right mind, but it just wasn't portrayed well. It
Oh
just
no, I did
just
not
wasn't.
pick that up. I just picked it up as this is horrible excuse for him to do this.
I think that's what
Why can't
I
it
think
just
that's what
be
they
as
were
simple
trying.
as Soul wants to save them? I like that through line.
Yeah, that's fine.
Especially after May says we're going to be sacrificed or however she says it.
Yeah.
She says some sort of sacrificing, which
Mhm.
is scary. And I like the idea of Soul being emotional, but also being noble, but also being greedy, but also being like, all of those little things are so much more interesting than whiny baby wants to get home.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
And so, like, I think that's why it just didn't work for me here. The dialogue definitely was horrible.
Mhm.
And I don't use that word lightly. It was bad here. The
Yeah.
delivery was rough. We're talking masterclass actors, and they are trying their best to make this dialogue good.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
it's just, it's man. This
Mm.
I think a reason I'm so disappointed in this scene in particular that I know we're spending a lot of time on it, but this could have been like 5 or 10 minutes worth of information. It should have been.
Mhm.
Oh, we found the potential virgins, the thing we've been here for 7 weeks looking for, and they have M counts that are so high, and they're identical DNA. What?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. There's definitely more there that I felt like they could have dove into, for sure. So I'm definitely leaving that scene disappointed, like you. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Coral takes May on the walk away from OSHA. This is the walk that we had seen Coral take May on in episode 3. So again, getting another point of view. We see Coral instructing her to get mad and to stop the Jedi from taking OSHA. We see Anastasia we see Anastasia's meeting with the witches after she, tells Osha that I'm gonna have to consult with the council, basically. And she surprisingly stands up for Osha and believes her wants should be granted. One of the witches says, "You might be their mother, but you are also our leader." Anastasia says, "Right now, I choose mother." And that dialogue for me really did not work either. She was like, "Right now, I choose mother." And I'm just like, I put my head in my hands on that one too, because that was rough. Also, I don't know who the performer behind Coral is. She's too much for my taste. Like, she's just constantly yelling. And I get it. Like, that's part of her species behavior. I don't know why I'm
Maybe.
blanking on that at the moment, but I'm blanking on her species name. That's part of it. I totally get that. That's established in Star Wars too, but it's still too much. And when she's like, "Get mad," I'm like, are we playing football? What are we doing?
I don't know what happened, dude.
I'm taken out again at this moment.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm like, what? You're like, get mad. That was the get mad for me. And the mother thing, I could get over because I think the NSA character and actress or actor is great. Like, I think she kills it, especially seeing the moment again with Osha. I got a little teared up again because I'm like, we talked about this, dad, and this would all be emotional for me. And I think that's great. And I like her sticking up for her here.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But golly, the dialogue is clunky, and Coral ain't working for your boy here.
No.
Not at all. Like, I'm talking, you're not even in the same show. Okay, what are you doing? Like that, we're at that level for me. I just couldn't stand any of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah,
Agreed. Agreed. Okay, let's keep going. May destroys the control panel to prevent anyone from getting in or out. Again, another moment that we're just expressing this anger. I get that you've got anger, but like we're just yelling
and
about
everyone's just watching her.
yeah.
Did you notice that? Everyone's just like,
Yeah.
oh, all
Yeah.
right.
Well, I wonder if part of that is because earlier in the episode, May is like, they want us to be the leaders. And then Soul's like, but y'all are kids or whatever. Or one of them is like, y'all are kids. And then she's like, well, yeah, I don't know, kind of thing. Well, maybe they're all just like,
Probably that. Like, they are, oh, they are
sure, sure.
the leader
Um,
being or whatever.
Yeah. Well, anyway, at this time, this is when Soul and Torben arrive. Soul senses May telling Osha she can't go as everyone is stuck there now. This makes Soul engage, and he tells Torben not to let them get in his head again, and they must get the girls. Um, I did. It gives more added context to the scene where May confronts Osha in their room. It also gives added context as to how Soul and Torben knew. I guess the scenario that was potentially going down was just him being force sensitive. Other than that, though, we've already kind of touched on the thing that I was bothered by in that scene. You got anything else?
No, I thought this worked. Like, it's a force move that makes sense to me. I love when shows do this. Like, you don't have to give me some clunky excuse of how he knows. Hey, guess what? He knows the freaking force. Okay, I know what's going on. Like that really worked for me. I thought that was
Yeah.
cool.
All right, fair. Here we go. Indara and Kilnaka arrive at the fortress in their ship, but they can't land it. Coral is telling everyone to gather in the common room and to prepare for battle. Anasea arrives and questions what is going on. She told Coral they could not use violence. Coral says she told Anasea that she would die before she let the Jedi take her children. May sets the place on fire, but she is definitely regretful as it happened. She begins looking for her mother. The only thing that I wanted to say about this scene, I didn't mind the concept of it, but I felt like they could have played more to maybe Anasea being frustrated with Coral here, because obviously she did not do what she had said as far as the no violence thing. I feel like they just kind of brushed it aside, and Anasea just rolled with it and didn't really stick to her guns as much as I anticipated that character to. You got any thoughts on that?
I thought it made sense to me because Anasea is this pacifist type of nonviolence, and this other, you know, person or species is crazy. They're very mad all the time, and so I think
Yeah.
I took it as like, okay, you're gonna be crazy. All right, whatever.
Like I've got
Like,
no choice kind of thing.
yeah, that's how I took it at
Okay.
least. But I will say I really liked seeing May not mean to burn her alive.
Yes.
That
Agreed.
really meant a lot for me. In the whole not redemption arc that she's probably going to go on, but just showing that she's conflicted and not just this evil scum of the earth type of thing.
Sure.
Because of the moment we got where, before she's like, I'm going to turn myself in. And then because we had discussed, like, what? I thought you were like, we're killing everybody. Why are you? But no, it's that typical kind of dark side thing where she's really is conflicted and she lets the dark side in. But then
Mhm.
after you do it, it's like, oh no, what have I done? I really like that moment.
Yeah.
Thought that
Yeah.
was powerful.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, here we go. Sol and Torben arrive in the fortress and are greeted by Anasea and Coral. Coral tells them if they move anymore, she will kill. Anasea says they wish to know if they will allow Osha to join the Jedi to be raised by an institution instead of a family. Sol asks where the twins came from and how they were created. Zero answers there. That's a great question that I would love to know. It doesn't seem like we're gonna know. Anasea steps forward and says someday those noble intentions the Jedi have will destroy every Jedi in the galaxy. I loved that bit of dialogue. I can't lie. Torben pulls his saber. May runs out asking for help. Sol incorrectly calls her Osha. I found that interesting. Coral prepares to go for the kill, and Torben ignites his lightsaber. Anastasia suddenly goes full witch and starts to turn into black smoke, as does May. But Soul notices this and stabs the black smoke of Anastasia, leading to her death. Anastasia says she was going to let Osha go to the Jedi, as that's what she wanted. Coral orders May to run. A lot goes down here. Some of the things really worked for me, some of them didn't. I'm still trying to interpret the black smoke going on between Anastasia and May. I have zero clue what's going on there. And also, I don't know why Soul calls her Osha. I don't know what that's about.
I'm on the this didn't work for me train.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we pull out the black smoke move now.
Mm,
Why have we had no context of what this move is?
mm.
Like I was just like, what is happening? Like it legitimately took me out. I'm like, what? And then you see May starting to like evaporate or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't.
And then that I like that that's what triggers Soul to kill Anastasia.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's cool because it still plays on the whole theme, but it just took me out. I was like, what is this?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
was just so lost. And I think me being lost brought the whole scene down for me personally.
Yeah, I'm hoping this is one of those instances where they're going to explain it more next episode, like they've been doing in this season, where they've had these things that we've got these big questions on and they wait an episode or two later to answer it. I'm really hoping that that black smoke is something they talk about, but I don't see how they would because none of the witches are alive. Like, part of me was wondering if like May and Osha were just like a like it, I don't know it. I don't even want to say. I don't think what I'm going to say is even close to being right. But I was wondering if like May and Osha were just a witch figment of their
Like just
imagination kind
fake.
of thing. Yeah, but then obviously when she dies, but they still stay alive, that's not necessarily the case anymore. So I
I
don't
was so confused, dude.
I don't know what's
If you
going on
know
there.
the answer, please tell us. And
Yes.
don't be smart about it. I want a real answer. I because I'm genuinely interested to know. Like I again, if they
We've
had
got to
set
be
this up,
missing something. We've got to
that's
be
what I mean.
missing
Like I
something.
hope we're missing something, but you and I both missing it is concerning. But like I don't know, man. That took me out. And
Yeah.
then Soul killing her like it
Yes.
in terms of storytelling. I it goes back to what I said with Torben. I just feel like you could have done it differently. And I
Mhm.
hate when people have this in their mind. You know, you guys know me. I hate when people go, "Well, it's not what I expected. It should have been this."
Yeah.
That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying the way you wrote it is just weird. Why
Yeah.
not have her turn into the black smoke and like start to get into Soul's mind and then he has to kill her or something,
Mm.
you know? Give me some indication of why he had to kill her besides him seeing May evaporating. I get that, but it just it was clunky. And then Coral turns to May and is like, "Run!" Like it's
Mhm. Yeah,
man, it
we need more explanation.
just disappointed, I
I'm
think.
I'm gonna hold out and hope that they give us explanation on it, but we'll see. We'll see. If they give us zero explanation on it, I'm gonna be a little frustrated because it's just gonna be left to interpretation or a Leslie Headland interview to get an answer one day. And I hate when they do that. I hate when we have to resort to
Dumb.
creator interviews to answer questions. Those storytelling moments should be told on the screen. If you're having to
That's
tell a
bad
story
writing.
in an interview, that's a horrible sign. It's a horrible sign.
Yeah, like
But
I was very disappointed in that. And then um you're about to go into it, but I'm excited to hear what you think on this next part. I'll preface with that. So go ahead.
okay, okay. Here we go. Coral begins attacking Soul as Torben is deflecting blaster fire. Soul will not fight Coral. The fortress begins to explode from the fire. Soul destroys Coral's staff. Coral turns into black smoke and takes over Kelnaka's mind and body. All of the witches in the fortress seem to be aiding in this effort. I didn't really know what was going on with that either because we hadn't seen any evidence of anybody helping Anastasia when she did it in episode 3 or anything like that. So more questions, more confusion. Hasn't the rule always been like Jedi can't pull a weapon unless somebody pulls a weapon on them? So if that's the rule, I was questioning why Soul was hesitant in pulling out his lightsaber, but I got to the point where I'm thinking he's questioning if him killing Anasea was the right thing, and that's why he's hesitant to pull his lightsaber out yet again. And I think that explanation really works for me, so I'm good with that. I didn't necessarily have any problems, I don't think. What you got? What you got?
I'm kind of locked back in here. That's
Oh,
why I say
okay.
that.
Okay.
I'm back in because we're back to the cool stuff, like the cinematography, the choreography, sick here. Soul looking like he's just having a day at the park. He's just
Yeah.
like, would you just leave me alone, kind of a thing. And that
Yeah.
that was sick. I thought that was awesome. It made a lot of sense. He's a Jedi that is almost at master level. He should make easy work of this person, and he
Mhm.
clearly does. And I also like that he doesn't pull his lightsaber for everything you said. He's regretting killing her, obviously. He's running through his mind,
Yeah.
I don't want to kill anymore. So that's why he doesn't pull his saber, which I think is cool. And he still pulls it and just does what I said is like,
Gets
get
her in
away
his
from me.
path.
Just
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah.
So I just think this really worked for me. I thought it was cool seeing Torben doing all the like lightsaber flipping stuff. I
Oh,
thought that was sick.
he was doing the
Um,
Annie Obi spin for
I was about to
sure.
say he's pulling the Anakin move. I thought that was awesome. Don't I saw it. Don't you fret. I just thought that all really was cool, and I will say they're like bow and arrow things, kind of cool too. I thought that
Oh,
was
the
cool.
witches? Yeah.
Yeah, thought that
Yeah.
was kind of
It
sick.
reminded me of the Dathomir witches for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I was
The
thinking
night
of
the night
I was
sisters.
thinking of
Sorry.
Omegas.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's levels. There's a lot of crossbow action out there.
Yeah, I thought that was cool, and
Yeah. I'm with you. It was another moment where I was like, "Okay, we can still redeem it." It's also
mhm.
and actually, you know what? Maybe let me save that comment for later. It's regarding soul and
Yes, 100%. Go
oh,
ahead.
okay. All right. Like, go ahead with the comment or just keep
No,
moving
no,
the
no,
rest
no.
of
Like, continue on. We'll get
Okay,
there.
okay,
We'll
okay,
get there.
okay. All right. Kelnaka begins fighting both Torben and Soul. Torben is scratched in the face by Kelnaka as Kelnaka has Torben pinned and near death. Torben passes out. Kelnaka and Soul continue fighting. Kelnaka is choking Soul to the death when suddenly Indara arrives and counteracts the witch's hold over him. When Indara breaks Kelnaka free, suddenly the witches all faint. I didn't really know what's going on there still either. Indara orders Soul to get the twins, catching us up to Soul attempting to save them. Okay, we definitely have more to talk about with that attempt to save, but we'll hold off on getting there. Great action. Great action between Kelnaka fighting Torben and Soul. I loved it. I liked Indara making the decision to show up and her being the one to break Kelnaka out of the spell because obviously she's been the master this entire mission that they've been on. And I'm still bothered by this witch stuff that I don't really fully comprehend. I don't get why all of them suddenly die. Um, maybe they didn't die. Maybe they just passed out, but I'm led to believe they died because at this point, with one episode left, there's no way they reveal to us that they're still alive. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think of this scene?
This scene sums up my feelings of this episode of being conflicted.
Okay. Okay. Because the great action and the questions,
Yes,
they're still there. Yep.
the action was dope. This was
Yeah.
awesome seeing Kelnaka put in some work because he's going to kill them all, by the way. Like, he would have killed them all easily, as it should be. He's a Wookiee Jedi. He should easily put these guys down, and he was going to.
Yep.
I loved seeing Torben fighting, literally fighting for his life here. I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
sick. Soul and Torben together still can't handle Kelnaka, which is sick. Also, I thought it kind of spun it on its head a little bit. We've been talking, it's Torben. He's going to be fighting everyone. Wrong. It was Kelnaka. And I thought that was a great turn.
Yeah, that was cool.
Especially with where we find Kelnaka, where he's, isolated himself probably because of this, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I just think all of that was like, oh yeah, baby, here we go. This is sick. And then you go and do the stupid thing of she just does the thing I was joking about, and they all die.
Yeah. Yeah,
How
I
do
didn't
you
get it.
not have it? Okay, we're talking a pivotal scene. A Jedi has killed himself over what they did at this place.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, Torben. Yeah.
Why, my guy?
Yeah, what exactly has Torben? Well, I mean, I guess him running into the joint has led to all these people dying. But still, I don't know.
So that is what has thrown me off is the Torben killing himself piece.
Because
Because if you go and do that,
yeah,
you got to do some bad stuff.
but he didn't even he's literally zero. He has zero hands on any
They
death
did
in this.
nothing. He got knocked out as he
Yeah.
should. Again, as he should. But
Yeah.
like, I was expecting them to like almost. I hate to use this word, but like genocide the witches. I thought we're getting that level here.
Right. I
Like
thought
I
so
thought they
too.
were gonna go in and just they ain't even fighting back. The Jedi are just murking them.
Yeah.
Why? I know why you can't do that because it goes back to what your point was the other episode, which is like, dude, that's gonna make the Jedi look really bad. That's why they didn't do that, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But like having Indara just close her eyes and then all the witches go
Yeah. Yeah.
dumb.
Yeah.
And maybe they didn't die. I actually thought about that too. I was
Yeah.
like,
There's a
maybe they
possibility they're
just
still
were
out there.
fainted and then it collapsed on them.
Yeah.
Okay. Oof on that. Just big oof. And it was so cool with Kelnaka and them taking over him and they're all and I thought again what I thought might happen is they would need to go in and kill them. Soul was going to have to go kill them to break the spell or whatever.
Sure.
No,
That
they just all you unplug the power source and they all just
yeah. So it makes me wonder why May and Osha didn't faint then either. But I guess they're not connected in the witchcraft
they weren't
going
connected
on.
to Kelnaka. Thank God every single witch
man.
in that coven was connected to Kelnaka right there.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I agree. I think that scene kind of sums it up. There's a lot of great stuff.
It's just
but then it's just like one moment that makes absolutely no sense, and I'm just afraid we're not going to get any answers to it. I don't see how we could because this next episode's got to be current time only. Like we have to address the chimera of it all. Have to.
Well, like
I know we're probably getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I was gonna. We'll get into it, but like we got to discuss because I'm very nervous.
We'll talk about it. Okay, let's keep going. We got a couple more. In a massive reveal, Soul decides he has to let one of them go. May or Osha. Obviously, he lets May go as he decides to focus all of his efforts on Osha and lets May fall. That was one of the things that I remember we talked about in episode 3, where we were praising Soul because they did a great job of shooting that scene in episode 3 to make it look like Soul was very much so trying to save both of them. But in this moment, we realize he ain't got the sauce to get them both. So he had to make a decision, and obviously he makes the decision to save the one where he's got an emotional attachment with. I loved this. I absolutely adored this. I cannot lie. What'd you think of it?
This is why the episode is a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
This was awesome. Like, and also because of what we've seen, exactly what you said. It looks like he tries to save her, but really what we see is the moment he's letting her go and he saves Osha. Like, that is like masterclass manipulation, but not too much manipulation, right? Like it's that perspective game that they've been playing the whole episode, but it is at peak here. Like this, it was so cool, dude. I think I audibly went, oh, when he had them both.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, he had to let May go. That's crazy. Like I legitimately was like, so I just, here we go. It's sick action, dumb, stupid writing decision. And we're back up to like, this is one of the, one of my favorite scenes in the whole episode for sure. Because it was like, this is the level of, why does Soul feel this way? That answer we've been looking for. This is the level I'm talking about where he had to let a child die to save another one.
Like, that was great. That was great. The only thing I was left wanting to know was May's point of view of how she got out of there. Like, how does she survive?
We'll never know.
We'll never know. We'll never know because
Or Kymir's at the bottom like this, and he takes her. Hey, you never know.
oh man.
You never know, my
If
guy.
they hit us with another flashback next week, I will be a bit bothered.
I don't think we'll know. I don't think we'll ever find out.
Yeah.
I would like to know how May ends up with Chimere, but it's not worth the last episode of the season for me.
No, I agree. I agree. Okay. Let's see. Last thing, and then we can talk about speculative thoughts. Indara orders Kelnaka to send a message to Coruscant. Indara is angry with both Sol and Torben. Sol and Indara have a moment to hash out their feelings. Indara says they will tell the council the truth, and Sol agrees. And I thought, okay, this is gonna be interesting. What's going down here? Well, Indara says the truth is that May burned down the witch's fortress and everyone was lost. Sol says he must face the council, but Indara questions why he would do that to Osha after everything she has lost tonight. Indara says before Sol throws himself at the mercy of the council, he needs to ask himself why he made this choice. I understand that point of view from Indara. I totally get it. And I also get Sol wanting to be truthful and wanting to tell the council. So I say all that to say I don't mind that decision. I think it makes sense. I think Indara wouldn't be the type to say, no, you've got to tell the truth. We're just going to leave this girl out in the streets. We're going to forget about her. But you've got to be arrested for these crimes. Basically, I don't really see Indara going that route. So this made sense to me. What do you think?
This worked for me.
Okay.
The fact Soul is like, no, I need to stand before the council because he's regretful about what he's done, and the fact Indara be like, okay, this may be a hot answer here, but being the good leader she is,
Yeah.
it's not always about following the rules and being justice and all this stuff. Like, I love that she points out, look, you basically just destroyed this girl's life because you're emotional and because you have this connection, whatever excuse you may have. So now it's time to like man up here and take care of business because you messed this up.
Yeah.
So let's not make it worse. Let's try to save her and save this what happened and make the best of the situation. And I think that's what a good leader, a good master would do. And I know we've talked about this before with police and stuff. Like, I don't think this is like a dirty cop situation here. Like, I don't think the Jedi are like being, oh my gosh, the Jedi have done this thing, which is what we were worried about. We're like, how are they going to do this and it not be the Jedi look bad? It very much isn't that for me. And so going back to what I said about the witches and the genocide and stuff, like if they did that, then we would go, oh, the Jedi, this was bad. So it's this weird box that they've written themselves into with it being this huge level event, but also it making sense and the Jedi the council not freaking out over this and stuff. Like, I thought it was really cool, really in character of Indara and Soul too.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do wonder though, in hindsight, if I would have enjoyed the angle of like a genocide kind of thing instead though, because who's to say? I mean, just because these 4 Jedi do bad things doesn't mean that that's how we should view the entire Jedi Order.
I think
Per
that would have
se.
been better. I want to
Yeah.
say that clear. Like,
Yeah.
I think something that level of like, ooh, would have been better to this story
Sure.
because we needed that. Not he wants to go home and then they all just die because of no reason. Like, that is
No, I
bad.
agree. I agree with that. I agree with that.
And we still could have gotten to this conclusion. Oh, hey, yo, I know we just did that bad stuff. Yeah, we are dirty cops, but
Let's
May
just say
burned them
May,
down,
yeah,
and we'll still save her
exactly.
life, and it's the same ending.
Exactly. Now, that leads me to this, I guess, prediction or speculative thought. Last week, after the end of that episode, I thought there was evidence that Soul was somehow like evil. I don't see that at play
I'm
at
so
all.
glad that you
At
brought that up
all
because I
at
didn't
this
get to
point.
discuss last week with you
Yeah.
to this degree. I never picked up on that, that Soul is evil or even Venestra is evil.
Okay.
I didn't pick up on any of that.
Really? Okay.
I never once took it like that. I always took it as they're trying to figure out a way it's not the Sith.
Yeah.
That's how I read it, where it's like, it's anything but, because obviously that's very bad.
Mhm.
So we're going to come up with every excuse in the book. This Jedi has turned bad and he's killed everyone, even though he has never showed signs of it. Right. I didn't pick up on that. And so to your
Okay.
point,
Not even the scene where he's like, "And you're gonna listen." Like whenever
and
he's got her
so no,
strapped up, she's
I
got
didn't
her
take that as
strapped up.
bad. I just took that as he's emotional. He lets the dark side
Okay.
in sometimes. And we've seen that before with his fight with Kymir, right? He
Yeah.
gets in on him. He's about to murk him, but he doesn't.
Sure. That's
So
fair. That's fair.
that's just how again, I'm not saying you're wrong or anything
Yeah.
like that. I'm
Yeah.
saying that's how I read the scene, was he's just being emotional. And then we see that throughout the episode here, that
Well, it seems
he
like
lets
you
his emotions get the best of him.
seems like you might be right. Seems like you might be right. Because I don't see an angle of after these events on Brendock, I don't see anywhere in there where Soul was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this out of evil intent," kind of
Mm.
thing.
No, I don't think
Um,
so.
it was just like you said, all out of emotional intent. The only thing that's still throwing me off though was when Soul pretty much acknowledges the fact that he's had 16 years to think about what he would say to her. Like he says it in a way where he almost kind of knew that she might have always been out there instead of actually having died. But I don't know. I don't know.
I took it as like,
I also
it's
wonder.
been 16 years. That's the only thing I took from
Yeah.
that.
I also wonder too if he's just trying to avoid the Jedi at this point because he still can't bring himself to tell the truth at the end of the day. Because it's literally as May was about to say, "Hey, this is May," that he stuns her. So literally the Jedi know absolutely nothing still about that night on Brendock. And I still just wonder if it's him still not being comfortable with confronting that truth to the higher ups
Yeah,
per
that's the
se.
curveball I'm kind of stuck on the hill. I haven't gotten over yet. Is why did he bounce
Yeah.
like before they got there?
Yeah. Yeah, another angle too, maybe he has somehow figured out that Vernestra is fishy
Maybe, maybe.
because
I don't.
I think earlier in last week's episode, he made a statement where he said it's like they knew we were there, or it's like they knew we were coming. Well, the only person that he knows that knew they were coming is Vernestra. And then, of course, in last week's episode, we get the scar on Kymir's back that's making everybody think that's Vernestra's light whip. So I'm wondering if somehow Soul has pieced together that Vernestra really is. I don't know. I don't know if Vernestra's bad or not. That would make sense. That angle, maybe that's why Soul took off because he somehow quickly pieced it together. Like crap. Somehow Vernestra
I don't think
knows.
she's bad, man. I don't know personally, because
Yeah,
she even
that's
says
fair.
like
That's
something
fair.
to tip the scales, right? Why would she say that under her breath if she's the bad person? I don't know. I think she has a dark side, obviously with the Chimere thing. That's a whip. That's a light whip. Let's call it what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's he is
You
her
think he
Padawan,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or he went bad and he tried to kill her. She couldn't kill him, but she got him with that. Like it's gonna be something like that, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's bad. I think
Yeah.
she's just
That's fair. That's fair.
but it still doesn't answer our question of why the heck does Saul bounce by himself?
Yeah. Well, I do feel confident we'll get that answer next
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
We'll get that explanation. Now, let's do this. For me, at least, naturally, as far as thinking about the finale, my mind goes to Chimere, because that's what I'm really interested at this point. I think we get a reveal that he's got somebody higher up than him. I just feel it in my bones that this
Guaranteed.
show needs something to make people go crazy. Because let's be real, I don't really think well, other than episodes five's fighting scenes, I don't think the show has provided us with that. Like all the other, even the ones that I've had major issues with, the Disney Plus shows, all the other ones have provided with us at least like a wow kind of moment. I haven't really gotten that sense yet from the Acolyte, and I would almost feel safe to say we have got to get he here's the real Sith Lord that's behind the scenes in all this. And it might be just the last final 5 minutes of the daggum thing, and they just tease up something for season 2 or just a completely new series. I don't know. Are you kind of leaning toward that, or you got something different?
No, I think you're right on the money of where, at least where my head's at. I think we get the reveal that there is a Sith. The Sith are in pairs, or what do they call it?
Yeah,
Duo.
rule of 2.
And yeah, rule of two. And he's not the big boy. And I think the big boy is going to be a big boy. I think that's going to be the reveal. I think it's going to
I,
be a name drop reveal.
I hope.
That's my
I
hot
would be
take of
okay
the
with either
prediction.
Plagueis or Tenebris.
I think it's going to be one of the two. I really believe
Gotta
that.
be. Gotta be.
Because we know that the one actor who has been cast has not been shown yet, and
Reportedly, we might add. Not
reportedly,
official. Not official. It was a rumor, I
but
believe.
that makes me even more confident that he is going to show up.
Yeah.
With this whole, they plaster everybody on everything these days, and so
Sure.
we haven't heard about them. I don't, and let's call it what it is. It's wishful thinking on my end, right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
there's this big bad, but I
Me
just
too.
think let's let OSHA be the acolyte. I think that's freaking cool.
Mm.
I think that's cool because we haven't seen that, right?
Yeah.
Like it's always that you get better, but why not that you get worse? I think that's an interesting concept that we could
Mm.
pull on. And obviously, it's got to be done right, but I think that's where we're headed with her putting the helmet on. That's how I read that, by the way.
It
She's
could
giving
be.
in a little bit. Maybe not. She's
Oh yeah. I
immediately the
mean,
acolyte and she's going
well,
dark side.
they've
But
Leslie Headland did an interview with Collider saying that she's like shipping the two of them,
oh,
OSHA and Chimere. So yeah,
okay.
it's definitely
Well,
heading that way.
yeah. So
But
that's how I read. And the reason I bring that up is I think that's interesting, and I think May needs to die, which sounds bad, but have OSHA
Sure.
kill May. You telling me that you're going to be the acolyte turned dark side? You kill the bad sister?
Yeah.
That's pretty sick. And then we move into season 2 with a big bad, the apprentice, aka Chimere, with his own apprentice. Now that's some meaty action we can get into here.
I don't know, man. Here's my pitch.
All right, yeah, let me hear it.
Jedi Fallen Order. You know how Vader shows up and just kills.
Yeah.
I want Plagueis or Tenebris to show up and put Chimere in his place. Dead.
Dead.
I'm
good with that. I am good with that. I would say that's over a 30% chance that happens.
You think so?
Seriously, yes,
that
I
big.
do believe that. I do believe like the
I think
master gets word that the apprentice is getting an acolyte.
Yeah.
Hey, you just killed all these Jedi, you idiot. Dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love if that happens. Okay, another thing too, because Leslie Headland said that they were going to address this and we haven't gotten it. She addressed the Kylo Ren music. She said it was there for a reason, and I can't explain on it quite yet. It's got to be next week then. What the heck does that look like then? Because if Chimere has a bigger master, then I don't know how he would be a Knight of Ren, because at that point he's training to be a Sith. So I don't know. I
think see, I think it actually works if they can do it right, in the sense of he hasn't said what he is, right?
No, he hasn't.
He says
Not
they
really.
call me Sith, and then whatever. And we know that Palpatine is going to be cooking here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, pretty soon.
What, 50 years?
About.
I don't know how long he trains
something like
with
that.
his master, but
I could go look at this book back here and tell you after the recording.
But my point with that is, who's to say that you have the Sith Lord and the apprentice? Why can't Chimere be knocked away? Maybe not killed, but just not be in the Sith for some reason.
Sure.
He becomes the Knights of Ren.
Okay.
And then whether it's OSHA or whoever, or Palpatine becomes the apprentice, or I don't know how that's going to play out. But my point here is, like, I think they could spin it where he is the first Ren, as well as not being the Sith guy, like head Sith.
I think that's a possibility, but I got to be honest. With what we've gotten from this show in 7 episodes, I don't see how they pull that off.
Yeah, I gotta agree. That's why I said they got to do it right. And that's
as far as the writing and the
I don't have
execution,
hope.
I don't see how they could pull that kind of reveal off, honestly.
I think that the easy answer is just to be safe, right?
Yeah.
OSHA will either kill Chimera or become the Acolyte. I think that's the two paths. I think she becomes the Acolyte and kills her sister or kills Soul or does
Mhm.
something bad. Maybe Chimera kills Soul, she kills Chimera. I don't know, but
Mm.
I think one of those things happen in
Mhm.
terms of her turning bad or good, and that's how we move into the next season with the big bad of there's a Sith Lord.
Yeah.
But 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 I got a question for you.
Okay.
How do you have a master Sith Lord like this, and we still get the Sith don't exist for 100 years?
See, and I was about to drop this opinion too.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be against somehow Soul gets to the unknown planet with
Ooh,
May.
give it to me. I hope you say what I think you're gonna say.
Vernestra is able to track him down as well. Everybody's there, and insert Plagueis slash Tenebris, whichever one you want to pick, and they all get slayed. Every single one of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Every single one of them.
yeah,
Again,
yeah,
2% chance of that happening
yeah,
with
yeah,
what
yeah.
we've
I'd
got
say
in the
like yeah,
show.
it's 1 or 2%,
But
but
you want to get everybody hyped up and be like, okay, we were wrong with judging this show. You
yeah,
want to get people be like, okay, give me a season 2. You do that, and then you actually make a season 2 focused on the freaking Sith.
yeah. That's exactly what I was about to say. I was trying to let you
Yeah.
finish, but I was trying my best not to talk. Dude, like I don't care however it comes out, the way it spins out here. But if there is this master and then whoever is the apprentice, or if it's even if Chimera doesn't die and we have master, apprentice, acolyte,
Mm-hmm.
give me a season 2 where we don't have the stupid witches and blah blah freaking blah. Give me all Sith. Give me what are they
Yeah.
doing? How are they
Yeah.
training? How are they being quiet? What are the ways of the Sith? Make that up.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? This stuff doesn't exist. You can make up this stuff.
Mm.
You're with Dave Filoni.
Mm.
Let this dude get weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I just feel like there is so much potential with the Sith, and we were supposed to get it.
Still haven't
Obviously, we
gotten it.
haven't. We
Yeah.
aren't going to this
Nah.
season. So redeem yourself. Come back with a season 2. You've got the machinations. We're attached to Chimera. We're attached to this new master, Darth
Yeah.
Tenebris or Plagueis, whoever,
Whichever. Yeah.
and maybe even in the show with Palpatine becoming the apprentice. That's how you end the show. But
Well, you'd probably have to jump forward several years, but sure.
well, sure,
Well,
but
let
I'm
me.
just saying to my point, like we don't have to go day by day with the Sith.
Yeah.
We move along until that.
Yeah. Let me say this too. If and let me make sure that this is shared, folks. I do not think that they're gonna have the cojones, to put it lightly, to end the series, to end the season rather, with that, with every single character that
Oh
we've been with this season dying at the hands of
no,
the guy that's really been behind the scenes. I don't think they're going to do that. But if they were to do that, if I'm a business person, I'm not naming that show the Acolyte. We would say the Acolyte's done. We are getting away from that name because it's going to bring the negative energy regardless. From a business aspect, if somehow for some reason they end this season with everybody off the board except the real deal, then you complete a just brand new show focused on that guy, and you give us the Sith
Sith
lore
Chronicles.
that was promised, kind of thing. I think if I
I think
think
you can do that without even killing everybody. By the way,
you think
to your
so.
point, yeah,
I
I
think
don't.
I think if you got leftover characters, you're gonna have to keep the Acolyte name.
Oh, I mean, I was thinking Book of Boba Fett, right? That's a whole different show.
That's fair.
Ahsoka is a whole different show.
That's fair. That's fair.
They're all basically season 2s and 3s of Mando.
Yeah.
But
But
or Rebels.
what
But
keeps throwing me off too is Leslie Headland has said that she's got 4 to 5 different mystery angles to use if a possible season 2 is greenlit. So that makes
I
me
don't
think
need mystery.
that makes me think that there's characters that are getting out of here.
I don't need mystery, Leslie. I want Sith stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
Yep.
make it boring. I like him being in his house and being all nice and like cooking and like talking about cortosis and that's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Have
Mm-hmm.
you ever watched Game of Thrones?
Mm-hmm.
The whole show is them sitting in a room and talking.
Yep.
That can be great.
Yep. I agree. I agree.
Be
All
sick.
right. All right, man. Well, we did it. Episode 7 breakdown. That's one for the books. I think that might be one of our longest episodes in a while. So hopefully, if you've been listening, you really enjoy us. And what that means then is I need you to do our little pin it project because I would really like to have some little little notes to stick on this Mando guy behind me. Leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave a description with it. I don't even know if that's the thing for Spotify. If you can like leave
I
like
don't
an
know.
actual comment back with it. But regardless, 5-star reviews across the board. If you're on Apple Podcasts, for sure, if you leave an actual comment with the 5-star review, I'll print it. I'll pin it on our Mando back here. If you're watching the YouTube video, comment, pin it, and leave us some thoughts on the show. I'll pin it on Mando back here. I'll just keep that trend going. But also follow us on Twitter. Again, remember, next week we're gonna have to adjust our schedule, but we will be covering episode 8 in some form or another. So just stay tuned with Twitter at Mando Talk. Make sure that you've got the bells on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get us. That way, whenever something does drop, you for sure hear it and see it. But other than that, Zach, any final words for the peeps?
No, overall conflicted. Even after talking about it, I just
Yeah.
think ups and downs, ups and downs. I liked some stuff, didn't like some stuff, and it's like it's the both ends of the spectrum, like
Yep.
and not like for me. So
Yeah, I
just
agree.
I'm excited to see where we go because I do think we can end on a high note. I got to be honest with you.
I
I
do.
know. Go ahead.
I do too. I do too. No, I was gonna say I do too. And I'm looking forward to it. There's potential. It could be saved, but it could also be derailed big time. And I will say, I don't know. Those of you that do follow Mando Talk on Twitter, you've been seeing like my rating, like series average changing week by week. Um, I don't know if that number is going to be truthful anymore because it's just this episode in particular just kind of described it to where it's just been great moments.
It's just a 6.
Yeah, just kind of a mediocre kind of level so far. But hopefully next week we enjoy. Hopefully next week we enjoy. Anyway, it's time to get out of here. Thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate you. Everybody that listens, especially this deep into the pod, you're a real one. And I just want you to know that I'm always grateful for you supporting the show and listening to our Star Wars takes. It's very humbling, and I've been thrilled to cover the Acolyte. We've got one more podcast episode during the Acolyte companion podcast era for Mando Talk, and then we'll transition and start doing some other things. So stay tuned. We'll catch you next week at some point. And until then, as always, we have spoken.